Do it. Do it to it. So what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Unconventional Money Moves podcast. I got Yankees fan here, Nick Heiter, with us today. And Nick is an entrepreneur himself, and he also helps entrepreneurs. He is, let's see if I can remember the list, like executive vice president of RSC Financial. He has a podcast called the Hit Streak. So that's like Joe DiMaggio. How many games in a row did Joe DiMaggio hit? 50?
I believe it was 56. And in college. I was on a music scholarship and a baseball scholarship, and you can have hits in both. And the more you have, the better, right? That's where the hit streak came from.
Yeah, perfect. And I saw you were a professional athlete, so it was baseball. You were pro in as well.
It was, yep. From 2003 to 2007, that was my thing. I was beating it up in the minor leagues.
Yeah, based off what I've seen in the movies, it looks like the minor leagues could be a lot of fun.
The joke around here is that I made hundreds of dollars playing baseball.
Yeah. Do you have a rookie card or anything like that?
I have baseball cards and some posters and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, man.
That's pretty cool. And so you're doing baseball, and then obviously the goal was to get to the majors, and like a lot of people, you never get there, which is okay. And then you're able to pivot. What happened after you decided to hang up the cleats?
Well, I've talked about this a lot recently, like when, learning how to set like goals, actual goals that you can hit and such. My goal was always to just play professional baseball. My goal wasn't to play in the major leagues. So I didn't have the right goal. So I actually accomplished my goal, right? I made it to professional baseball. And then I was just really happy to be there and a great teammate and did what I did. But maybe if I'd have set my sights specifically on the major leagues, maybe things could have gone a little different,
Well, rejection can be projection sometimes. So like maybe not making it is allowing you to do what you're doing now. And with what position did you play?
I was a catcher.
Catcher. Do
you have
any good story? You have any good stories when you like got into it with the ump that you're able to share?
Sure. Let me that was such a long time ago, and it was a past life. When you remember one, they start rolling in, right?
Maybe like a bad call or something, and it got a little heated.
Oh man. I just used the time that I got the first time I got ejected in professional baseball, and I don't even think the teams heard this one. So, on a professional team's roster in minor league, this would have been at the AA level. You have two catchers on the squad, right? So if one gets hurt, you got a reserve. It's not my day to play on this game, and the umpire, who I actually had a great relationship with, he was having a rough game, and I never will forget it. I'm in the bullpen. And by the way, our home field was at Yale University, so I'm at Yale, and right next to the Yale Bowl. And there's a play at third base, and the umpire in the field runs over there. We got the guy out. We're on defense. We got that guy out clearly by a lot. But the umpire, when he was running over there, when he stopped to make the call, his feet went out from underneath him, literally over his head. He landed on his back. He got up. You could tell he was embarrassed, and he just went out of reaction. He just went safe. So, of course, we're all chirping, and my manager runs out of the dugout, and he immediately gets tossed. And it's still going on. A couple plays further happen, and everybody's still kind of chirping at him. And the umpire in the field just looks out to the bullpen and says, "You're gone." And of course, me and all the pitchers are like, "Who's he talking to?" Like at this point in time, I hadn't even said anything. And he pointed right at me and said, "You're out of here." And this is before like the internet really blew up. This is 2004. And my father is listening to this on internet radio, right? Because you can't watch it, right? So he's watching, and he said, "Yeah, I heard somebody just got tossed." And of course, my pitching coach, who's now the manager, runs out, and he's like, "What are you throwing him out for?" And he was like, "Because somebody down there was chirping." And basically he said, that I only got one other catcher, and this puts us in a tough situation if you throw out my only other catcher. And he was like, "That's right." So he looks at me and he says, "You get out of here." Well, I'm going to get my money's worth. So, but it's my first time and I'm a rookie. So basically, I just start yelling. We're at Yale. We didn't have a big crowd. There was probably like 200 people in the whole stadium, right? So everything I said echoed throughout the rafters. My dad could hear every word I said on the internet radio. And I won't say the exact words that I said because they weren't great. But the last thing that I said to him out loud as I threw my bats and stuff onto the field was, I looked at him and I called him an effing, and the word that starts with a P that would describe a man's genitalia, right? And of course that echoed throughout Yale. And then about the time I get to the clubhouse, my cell phone's ringing in my locker. I pick it up and it was my dad, and he was like, "What the heck was that?" I told him the story, and he was like, "Your mother heard that, man." And I was like, "Oh crap! I didn't think about all that." Of course, I got fined for getting thrown out of the game. All of my teammates thought it was so amazing what I said that they paid my fine for me and actually paid me some money out of the kangaroo court jar to do that. So that's my best getting tossed in professional sports, I think, just because I don't know what made me use effing. I don't know where that came from, but it happened, and I'm dang proud of it. Dadgummit, you know.
I didn't know kangaroo court was a real thing. I saw it like on a baseball show, but that's a real thing where people go at it.
It is. So kangaroo court is a real thing, and it's basically it's a player's it's a player's accountability system. So stuff like, you know, the fines are based on the level you're at, you know. So like it's kind of like a swear jar for mom and dad as kids. You drop $1 in or something like that, I guess, depending on how much money you make. But yeah, we had kangaroo court. The veterans are the judge, and then you've got the deputy, or whatever the guy's called, that sits right to the right hand of the judge. So you've got your team captain, that's the judge, and your deputy. And every time something happens, you anonymously put whatever happened in this little box. And like, for instance, like the first time, I didn't know, I went to go shower. I didn't have shower shoes. I just went and showered, and they were like, they banged me. That's what they call it. They banged me for showering without shower shoes. Like stuff like that. So like then kangaroo court, it usually happens on a bus. They get out the box and they start reading off what happened. This one is for Hyder, not showering without shower shoes. How do you plead, sir? And if I plead guilty, I just pay the fine. If I plead not guilty and I plead my case and I lose, I pay double. So that is fact. So it's all like, you know, traveling, you forget a belt, or, you know, you forget a piece of equipment, or you just do something you're not supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like you're in the clubhouse when it was supposed to come up your time to bat, or you were late to the bus, or anything like that the players, and usually all the money gets piled together and you have a big party or something at the end to kind of celebrate, you know?
Yeah. Gotta have a party. Gotta keep it fun.
That's right. Needless to say, I contributed a lot to kangaroo court, especially that first season.
Well, I guess that's how you learn, right?
Yeah. That's it was a great learning thing, as a matter of fact.
Not only call you out, but make you put a little money in the piggy bank a little bit.
Oh man, and you just know, like, you know, you can't. Every time you try to not guilty, you're gonna be guilty. You know what I mean? You're gonna be guilty. We had another funny story from that same season. I was so poor when I was playing at that level. I made so little. I didn't make enough money to pay for the bills I had back home. So I was getting help from parents. We lived in dorms for the season, but guess what? The students came back and there was still a month left of season. I couldn't afford to go anywhere else. I was literally living in the clubhouse, sleeping in a mattress, in a blow-up mattress underneath the spread table. And we figured out about 2 weeks in that they left the beer garden on in the stands at the stadium where we live. So needless to say, we were going out at night and then bringing people back to the field. And then you make great decisions if you're intoxicated. So they had the golf cart that we figured out. You could just pretty much shove anything into the keyhole and turn it and it would run. So we started driving that thing all over New Haven, Connecticut. And on the way back, intoxicated, we were driving and somehow ran into one of the main gates at the baseball facility. This sucker was made of steel and it weighed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds, if not more. But we just, like, my buddy was driving and he literally just bumped it. And I think it was just propped up there because, like, it slowly fell on top of the golf cart and it totally smashed. This whole steering wheel was on the floor. The steering wheel shaft was on the floor. Like we just demolished that golf cart. We got it and put it back together and just kind of placed everything back and hoped they wouldn't notice. Well, we were going on a road trip the next day, and literally, like, they stopped the bus leaving the parking lot, and the one of the front office people got on the bus and said, "Who did it? Fess up." So, like, I'm just sitting there and I'm not saying anything. I'm like, "Geez, I'm in trouble. I can't afford to pay for this. I don't know what's happening." And then they were like, "Cool. Well, if you don't fess up, then everybody's going to pay for it." And then my pitching coach, who knew what had happened, who really took great care of me, he just kind of like elbowed me and said, "Hey man, you got to take the hit on this one." And I was like, "Okay." So we just kind of, me and Luke was his name, and we just kind of stood up and we said, "Sorry, we did it. Pay more money, we could live somewhere, but you didn't." And I was, at the time, I think I was 24 years old, and so I had a lot of growing up to do, and we ended up paying for the damage to the cart. I made so little money that I couldn't even pay for it with what was left of the season. I had to start the next season, which that was good because it meant I had a job. So they had to bring me back to get their money back. But my first like 3 paychecks the next season went to go to the golf cart damage for the previous season. I don't know if I've ever told that publicly out loud. So,
Well, heard it here first. So, what year did you hang up the cleats?
In 2007, I just got so tired of being broke. I got so tired of needing my family to support me. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I just knew that like something had to change. So in 07, I retired on my own terms. I had it was at like the AAA level, and I had a contract, and but I had an off-season injury, and I just milked that sucker while I figured out if I was going to go back or not. I went and joined the team for like a weekend, and basically just decided, hey man, I think I need to move on. I went and joined them in Kansas City, as a matter of fact, and that was my last weekend as a professional player, and that was when I officially retired. And there was some opportunities back home to make enough money to like eat and pay my rent and stuff. So you know what I mean. At that time, I was 26, 27 years old. The friends that I graduated with had already started at the bottom and worked their way up a couple levels. So I felt like I was falling way behind. And it was just, for me, I guess I lost belief that I might make it to the big leagues.
Really? And like, what was that loss like? Basically losing out on the dream and having to like basically reinvent yourself from a baseball player to figure out what the hell are you going to do?
Well, the decision to not play was an easy one. It was almost like a sigh of relief. But then so 2 or 3 or 4 days go by, and I realize I'm still going to the gym at the same time. I realize I'm still doing the exact same things as if I'm still a player. It took me years to figure out who I was, like better part of a decade. We owned some businesses and we owned a couple restaurants and stuff like that. And we were great at that, but I wasn't a good family man. I wasn't, my faith wasn't where it needed to be. I just had a lot of growing up to do. And, my wife and I were trying to figure things out. We weren't married at the time. We had a young son, had a lot of growing up to do. So for me, the evolution, I'm still going through it, but to figure out how I got to today, it was really 2014 and 2015. My last season was 2007. 2014 and 2015 is when I really started to figure out who I truly was and what impact I could make. And then I just had to figure out what that path was.
So like 7 or 8 years of just like wandering around trying to figure it out.
I mean, we had some success. Over 5 years, we owned and operated 6 different restaurants and nightclubs. We generated a ton of revenue. I didn't know how to pay myself. I didn't know how to manage. I wasn't financially literate. I didn't know a lot about money, but we learned how to make it. And so I realized that if I didn't change my behaviors, that the mother of my child wasn't going to stay with me much longer. And I just always knew there was something better, and God put me here for a reason, and this ain't it. So I had a lot of exploration to do, a lot of help that I needed, a lot of mentorship that I needed. I had a long way to go, but for like 5-6 years, at least we learned how to make money. And then I learned how to be good with that money, be a good steward of that money, be a good student, even better, of that money,
So just being able to generate money, that came easy to you.
It did. That was something that we were good at. You know what I mean? We threw parties at the end of the day. We were good at promotions. We understood marketing. We outmarketed everybody here, and we had a great run, man. It was a lot of fun. But again, you know, I had a young son at home. The majority of our revenue was done past 9 p.m. So what kind of a life? So that meant, I mean, you know, that's when the revenue happens. That's when I'm there. The owning a bar or multiple bars is a lot of fun in your 20s. And then, but when you're a parent and your kid wakes up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and you're just getting home, you know, man, you're a zombie, dude. Like that, he deserved better than that. And it took me a while to figure out that the hard decisions that I had to make, but I did. In 2011, a business partner was willing to buy me out, and that was when we made the move.
I found that interesting because, like, for me, when I left corporate America, I didn't know how to like make the money. I just knew how to like do things to provide like value to people, but I didn't know how to like make the money. Because to me, I was like, I'll do this for free. I don't care. Like, but you have to like realize that versus like you, on the other hand, like knew how to make the money, but didn't realize like, oh, maybe like, we make $1, we should put a dime away just in
Yeah,
case. But
we knew
you
how
were
to,
able
we
to
knew how to
exit that.
provide value. We knew how to provide value of things that people wanted. And you know, again, if you get, I was trained by some of the best. My off-season job as an athlete was every year when I came home, the best, like the most happening spot in town. They had a job waiting on me. My first year it was like promotions where I gave out flyers. The next year it was like security. After that, the next year it was bar back. And then the next year it was bartending. Then the next year it was DJing. So over the course of like 5, 6 years, I learned how to do everything there. And you know, and as a student of everything that I do, I was constantly just taking in that information and trying to figure out how to be better at it. You know, because it was a lot of learning in about 2 or 3 months because that's all I was home. And after 5 or 6 years, we knew how to do everything in the business, and the people that were training me, they were the best. Like, so I learned how to market a nightclub, how to market a happy hour, how to market food, and promote it and all that stuff. Right. So I just took what I had learned and applied it.
Yeah, and by doing all these different tasks, what a lot of people don't realize, like, I know this because I used to like DJ. You literally can control the entire mood. You get to that level, you're like, yo, I want everyone to like jump up and down a little bit. I know exactly what to do. So
Oh
like you
yeah.
learn how to read people, you know how to, if you need to calm it down a little bit, calm it down, or you know, turn up the volume a little bit, you know how to do that. And then basically, so you sold out, that gave you the seed money that you needed in order to get out of the the nightclub life into what was the next step.
So the next step is I sold all that to get into. There was a big development happening here, actually, in partnership with Dolly Parton, and it was a real estate deal, a mixed use high rise out in the if the Nashville people would know the Opryland area, that's the Gaylord, and so I got in on a deal that had tons and tons of potential. I really didn't know what I was doing. And when some stuff had happened, there was a big flood here and some things like that that really changed the trajectory of that project. When Dolly Parton's company pulled out, it started a slow bleed. And over about a year and a half, I just kind of bled dry and I actually lost everything. So, and in 2013, when I was literally at rock bottom, I got offered to start an insurance agency. And all I had to do was pay the $300 that was basically the state required licensing fees. And I didn't have it. I had to borrow that from my dad to get licensed to start an insurance agency, and everything that we have today started from there. That insurance agency was that agency is still intact today, and it's still growing. And then we started helping other people launch their insurance agencies, and that led to launching other small businesses. And in 2016, that's when we started helping other people launch theirs. And I'm talking like we recruited these people. We had the training for them. We invested in them and everything. And we launched about 150 businesses from 2016 to 2022.
So you got out of baseball, didn't have anything, built it up, got money, lost it all, then was like, I'm gonna start. Why life insurance? Is it life insurance? Like what?
It was health insurance, and dude,
even sexier, health insurance.
Yeah, there's I was almost embarrassed to do it. And nobody like grows up to be in insurance. Like that was something Tom Brady said when he tells about his draft story about how like, fifth round, sixth round, he's like, man, I'm thinking like I'm gonna have to go sell insurance or something. Like that's what he says in his documentary. But no, I was going to every job interview I could get. Like I'm talking like I went to an interview for probably the worst job on planet Earth, and at the time it was door to door AT&T like internet sales. And I went to that interview, and this young lady, I can't even remember her name. She just realized that like she's like, dude, you're too qualified for this. I got a guy that you need to talk to, and she hooked me up with a guy at a company called U.S. Health Advisors, and they were looking for new agency owners. So I went out and I interviewed with them, and they brought me back for a second interview, and they offered me the agency on the spot, but I couldn't leave without getting into the state licensing required course. That's how they knew I was serious. And I didn't have the money. So I literally had to ask him where the restroom was. And I walked outside and called my dad from the parking lot and asked him for his credit card. And he gave me the $300, but that was the day that he told me, don't come back. This is it. No more handouts. This is it. It's up to you from now on. And that was probably the greatest, that's one of the greatest gifts my dad ever gave me, was like, he cut me off.
Yeah. So like you didn't even have credit, like nothing.
Dude, I was like, we rented a home. We didn't even have a home. We couldn't even afford a house. And it was a little home. And we only had one car. Literally lost everything. And the car we had like was missing like fenders and stuff. I mean, bro, it was bad. It was bad. So I've been at the bottom. I've had nothing. And that feeling, I still remember how it feels. That wound is still fresh. I keep it fresh. So that way, every day when I wake up, that's what I think of, and that drives me.
So how do you, I think I was listening to something about Papa John, and he's like, yeah, I was like, you know, a billionaire and I still thought I was broke. So like,
Right.
how do you like overcome that in your own mind? Because you don't seem like you're broke anymore with all the nice equipment I see there.
We're,
How do you overcome that mental, basically like in your mind, you got to like almost rewire yourself.
well, we're blessed. We're extremely blessed for everything that we have today, and probably blessed more than we deserve. But I still feel like we're just getting started too. No, man, for me, like the cool thing about the past and history is you can learn from it. But you only learn from it if you remember it. You know what I mean? If you forget all that stuff, you tend to repeat it. So for me, that was that. I just that feeling of and that feeling lasted from 2013 to really like I remember in 2015 that was the first time that my wife and I like went out to eat where we didn't have to like, do we need to move money, like it would, dude. I mean, I'm telling you, the first 2 years of the insurance agency were hard because I didn't know anything about it. I had to learn a whole new industry. I had to learn how people bought. I didn't know how they shopped. I didn't know where the customers were. All I knew is that money is abundant, and it's everywhere. It's actually in everybody else's pockets, and I just got to figure out how to get them to give me some for providing them value.
Yeah. Uh, and if they run out of money, they'll just make more of it.
Well, it's they're literally printing it. It's everywhere. It's so abundant. You know what I mean? So if that's how you feel about it, then it's you know how like if you're like you decide you want a car, all of a sudden when you start to see that car on the road everywhere just because it's relevant in your mind. You know what I mean? You ever had that happen to you?
Yeah. So it's like if I tell you like, hey, look out for yellow Jeeps,
Correct.
then you'll
Yeah.
just
Hey,
start seeing yellow Jeeps.
that's right.
If
Well, I started feeling that way I started doing that with money. You know what I mean? I started like actually like for me, I learned how to set actual goals. I found out I was a dreamer, right? So I found out that actual goal was a specific target, but most importantly, it had a deadline on it. I started to treat all my financial and business like opportunities like just like you program your GPS. The only way the GPS works is if you tell it where you're going to finish, right? And then it'll tell you when you need to start, all the turns to get there. It might even tell you, hey, there's an object in the road, you need to go around it. Here's your new arrival time. Here's your new route. So the
Mhm.
GPS for me, like people use it all the time. I talk about it a lot. And it's amazing to me that the same people that will use a GPS to come to an interview with me about possibly starting a business, they won't apply that same knowledge to any other aspect in their life. I'm like, dude, you how did you know when to leave, and how did you know when you were going to get here? right? And they're like, well, I typed in the end. So, well, what do you want out of business? What's the end destination? And then let's work from there.
Gotta see it, do it, bring it into existence. So like with the things that you're doing now, because you're doing a lot of different things, like where are you hoping like people find you? Just like I mean, I just reached out to you. I was like, hey, you look cool. Come on the podcast and let's make it happen. But like, what are you doing now where you want people to like go? Is it your Instagram? Is it your podcast?
All the above. So the podcast has a specific audience that my Instagram might be a little bit different from, right?
What's the destination? Tell me the destination you want people to go.
Oh man, well everything's on my website, nickhyter.com. You can access anything and everything that I'm doing from there, the podcast, all the social media, all those things. But we're very big believers in digital marketing. I'm a big believer that if people are spending 6 to 10 hours a day looking at a device, and if you're not there on it when your customers go to spend 6 to 10 hours a day looking at that device, you're going to lose your customers at somebody that is. Right. So we're all in on the digital marketing thing. Content is something that's huge. While I'm talking to you right now, there's a separate camera that's picking up everything we're talking about today, just so I've got another angle and everything else. There's a camera on me almost all day, every day, just because some of the best stuff happens when it's not intentional. You know what I mean? So it's something that my buddy Brad talks about all the time. He's like, dude, just be the content. Quit trying to create everything. Just like film you being you. That's what people need to know.
You're talking about Bradley, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard him say that too.
I
met him in Nashville one time. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
He is, man. He's a brilliant thinker.
Yeah, for sure. His whole thing's cool. But yeah, just be yourself and put it out there. That's all you can do. So
That's right.
You're doing everything here. The insurance agency. You're in Nashville.
Yep.
What's like 2023 is almost over. Like you've done your 2024 goals already. Like what's the vision for next year?
We have. There's a couple of business things that I'm working on with Brad that I can't disclose at this time. However, one of the big things that's going to happen in 2024 is the space I'm sitting right now. It's a smaller set of offices, just because we got in here to try to like figure out what works. We knew that like we needed studios. We knew that the market was shifting in this direction, but we didn't know exactly what we needed to, how big it needed to be, and so on and so forth. So I got this smaller space that we're in currently, so we could figure out what works and what don't, and really like how to blow it up on a larger scale. And so in 2024, it'll probably be third quarter, but we're looking in moving into the big expanded space full of all the different types of studios, content creation, and things like that. And then I mean, the cool thing about that is like all the businesses utilize that. So like for me, that's the central hub. The HitLab business is that's been around since 2020. The HitLab business is something that helps all of the businesses I'm involved in, all of the clients. Everybody needs the digital content. If they're established and they've got a great personal brand or an online digital presence, they need a podcast. You know what I mean? Because the podcast, just like we're doing today, man, you're establishing yourself as an authoritative figure, because you get to hang out with people like me or people that have accomplished more than I have, right? So I've had VCs, VPs, professional athletes, anybody and everybody on mine, guys that have sold hundreds of millions of records. And I'm forever associated with them on the internet, man. So like it's a great thing, and those I have relationships with those guys, and we do a lot of deals together because of the podcast.
Yeah, and I saw you just crossed like 100 episodes not too long ago.
We did. It took since we aired the first one 2 years ago on a Tuesday, we haven't missed a Tuesday since, and we're really close to moving it up to 2 episodes a week.
Yeah, I like it. The hit streak. I feel like that'd be something cool to like. I don't know if you do this for your agents, but it's like, yo, you get a sale like 5 days in a row, so you're on a 5-day hit streak, baby.
That's right. Oh yeah, everything's centered around that for sure. That's
baseball.
again
Baseball, you mean?
Around just the hit streak thing. So anytime, like even if when you listen to the episode, you'll hear me anytime me or the guest say something profound or awesome, you'll hear me hit the button, and that's the crack of the bat. The crack of the bat will sound, and the crowd will cheer. Right. So that's a little something that we borrowed from Brad when I was on Dropping Bombs, and we said some awesome stuff, and he was hitting that button, and the bomb would blow up, and I thought, dang, that was cool. I gotta have that.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So that's cool. Now, are all these separate businesses? Are they under all one umbrella? How have you structured all that?
Great question. So some of them are tied together, but the other ones are separate. It's just because I have different partners. You know what I mean? So the Hit Lab is something that it's the same owners are in Hit Lab, or not the same owners in Team Hider. Rack Financial is those what we do with Rack is totally separate from everything else. You know what I mean? So every business, it's own. It's like your own child. It's a different child, and they all need specific things. So if a partner in something else it's good, they're good for the business, then we talk to them about approaching that. But no, they're definitely not all. They all help each other and they all feed each other, but they're not all connected with owners for sure.
Gotcha. Because I've been spending a lot of time. I've actually been rereading all of the Berkshire Hathaway letters because I find it interesting. Because it's interesting to you don't really know how Warren Buffett started. It's still unclear to me. It's basically like he raised $100,000, which is like someone just raising $1 million today. And he put in $100 of $100,000 and formed this company, and then basically bought some crappy textile company called Berkshire Hathaway, and then used that because it was already publicly traded to just scoop up other companies and put it under this one umbrella. So I've been finding that very interesting, keeping things separate versus figuring out how you could put it under one umbrella. Because if you get it under one company, depending on the multiple of that company, that could actually make the company more valuable in the marketplace.
There will be an umbrella company at some point. That's a lot of franchises and or restaurants do that, right? So there's a restaurant here. Let's say that the restaurant's its own company, but then when they're going to build or renovate for a new location, well, they own the construction company, right? And then when it comes time to design it, well, they own the design company that designs all their restaurants, right? So, and then when it comes time to buy the furniture and the kitchen equipment, well, guess what? They got a company for that too. So they're buying from themselves, right? So it's more for accounting, and you're creating a circle of money, right? So the money never leaves the circle, right? So, and you can capitalize on a lot of deductions and stuff like that way. So definitely learning, again, financial literacy is huge. I didn't really learn a whole lot about money until I was in my 30s. So, went to school all those years, graduated college, never learned about money. And, but once you start learning about money, you learn that money's just a tool. So if you want to be the best at working with the tool, you learn how to use that tool. So the carpenter is going to be great with a hammer or a drill or a nail gun, and they're going to be able to do things with those tools that the average person can't. I wanted to be that way with money.
Yeah, that's where you and I are opposites. You knew how to make money. I knew everything about it, but I didn't know how to make it. That was something I don't know. Cause I don't know. I wasn't selling a service or something. It was more of hey, I know a lot about money. You gotta let me help you. But when you're 28 years old, people are well, you're 28. How much can you know? It's well, I actually have more than you, and you're twice my age. But you really can't say that to people and expect them to react well. So I think that's kind of cool though, because you're man, I know how to make it, but now I got to figure out how to keep it. Now, if you either have to learn it or you got to find someone to be a good partner to ensure that you never go broke again, per se.
Yeah, and it's we learned 2020, I believe it was 2021 was the first year that we ever our money made more money than we did. Right. So I started treating every dollar that we had like a soldier. And if I'm going to send that soldier out to war, he's got to come back with another soldier. Right. So we started doing some real estate investment. I learned about affiliate marketing. And and that's been a huge thing. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot, especially in the MLM world and everything else. Dude, if your company's awesome and I can lead traffic to you, then I would love to do that. And you're going to break me off a piece for doing that, right? So we've developed a pretty large platform that we're really proud of, and we use that platform to promote a lot of things. But there are always things that we believe in, right? So there's a vetting process there. But once that happens, then we're just getting mailbox money every single month, and that, my friend, is the best kind.
Yeah, you just wake up and there's a dollar.
Right.
So yeah, that's the best kind. You wake up, you're like, oh, cool.
That's right.
I can go eat today. But yeah, I mean
That's
that's like where I'm at in the entrepreneurial journey is I found like people and I got people who are like helping. So it's
yeah.
like you come to a point in your career, you're like, well, I kind of want this extra money. I worked hard for it, but then you find like good people. You're like, well, I gotta keep these people. So that way I can take time out of the equation, which is where scale comes into play, which a lot of business owners end up, they just run the show and they spend all their day doing God knows what. They're not actually like running anything. So
That's
like
right.
basically you got to figure out how to take time out of the equation. So you like have a big choice. It's like, do you take the cash and have extra money, or do you figure out how to leverage time in your favor so that more money can come into your bank account?
Yeah. Dude, like one of the greatest learning, I learned more from raising a kid about how to raise businesses. Like there's so much in line that with that, you know what I mean? So like, you're raising a kid. My son's 14 now. Like literally, like you just realize when they do something like stupid, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like why did he do that? And it's like, well, how would he know not to? Nobody's told him. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the information. So, like today, he's got a lot going on today, and I'm only going to see him for probably 2 or 3 hours this afternoon. So there's a lot of things that he's got to be able to do on his own. Have I given him the tools and the knowledge to do that? Have I given him the time frame to do that? Does he know how to communicate with me if there's issues, or even communicate with me that he's accomplished all those tasks? So the scaling is one of the hardest things in business to do. We live by the 70-30 rule. It's going to be 70% as good as if I did it. So we build that in when we're making our plans. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you just got to get it done.
Well, and if you work with the right people too, like those people are unique in their own way, and you don't want to rob them of that uniqueness, like, because they bring you a lot of value as well. They bring you a lot of knowledge and new ways to do it. So every like insurance agency owner that we had, every business was pretty different. There was a lot of things similar. The customer was always the hero, but how they found their customers, how they marketed, what was unique about them that they could put out into the industry and attract customers. Those were all different, a little bit different. So a lot of the 70-30 rule came from that, on top of the fact that if I tell somebody that works for me, hey, I need you to do something, they don't care about it as much as I do, because I own it and they don't, right? So they're going to do it probably, if they're great at what they do, probably 70% as good as if I would do it.
Yeah, whenever I give something to someone else to do, if they make a mistake, I don't even typically tell them. It's typically easier for me to just fix it.
Yeah.
Or to have someone else fix it. I'm like, hey, just fix this. I was like, hey, you did a great job. Just like, because I did, you did it good enough. Then we fix it. I mean, even everyone makes mistakes.
Eventually they gotta learn, right? So again, raising a kid. So when he was first learning to make his bed, I was fixing it a lot, until one day it was like, dude, like, I'm not fixing it anymore. Like, I've showed you too many times. Like, this is your moment to learn how to make your bed, and you've got it from here on out. I'm giving you that freedom and that responsibility to do it on your own, and I'm not going to come in and fix it for you anymore, right? So, but again, that did take some time. You go to school for, they're not showing you 7th grade math in the 1st grade, right? So they're giving you bite-sized pieces, as much as they think or feel you can comprehend at a given time, and they're building you up throughout that curriculum for those however many years you're in school, right? So, I mean, a lot of parenting is that way. A lot of business growth is that way too. So where we're at today, 2 years from now, shoot, even 12 months from now, we'll look back and be like, can you believe that was that was where we were at? We're gonna grow, but that means everybody that's with me has to grow, and they have to grow equally as much as I do, to be able to stay in the hierarchy stays in the same levels and all that.
For sure. And when you were growing all of these companies, how did how did you remain present with is it a son or a daughter? I don't think you
I have
said.
both. I have both now. I have a 14-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter.
Okay. So with the
So
son, because he's been here a little bit longer, what did you do to remain present? Because like you tell everyone tells me they're like, yo, you have a kid, and then all of a sudden like they're out of the house.
yeah, I mean, it goes quick, but I've I don't miss ball game. I actually coach my son's baseball team, and I have since he was 5 years old. So I mean, that's the team would tell you. We even film that stuff, but that's 30 hours a week. 8 months out of the year that I'm working with these kids. It's extremely competitive, and we travel, and it's a $40,000 a year budget for his team. You know what I mean? Like it's the real thing, and these parents are putting in a lot of investment into like the whole family has to go to Gulf Shores or Florida or Myrtle Beach or wherever we go. And so it's a family decision, and I don't take that lightly. So for me, it was what's most important to me, and obviously being a husband and a father comes right after my faith, and the business follows that. So I built like people that want work-life balance. Like, first of all, you define what that is, but like they're really like, if you're going to grow, they call them growing pains for a reason. It hurts. And for me, being present and with my son, we worked out this morning before school. We work out every day together. It's something that we do. So we built our schedules to have the life that we needed and wanted. And that's why entrepreneurship or being self-employed had to be it for me. The last job interview I ever went to that I got offered a job, a W-2 job, they offered me 150 grand a year. And remember, I had nothing at this time. And I turned it down because they told me when and where and how much. I had to ask for permission to go on vacation. I had to ask for permission to coach my kids' ball team. And like that just wasn't going to work. And then to make matters worse, I said, well, if I'm your top guy, when I beat your top guy, will I make top guy money? And they said, nah, man, he's been here longer. So I was like, well, that's not for me, man. I'm not gonna be good here.
That's not how the sports world works, man. He's slumping and I'm coming up. He's going down and I'm hitting the big leagues.
If the scenario's right, that does happen. A lot of times they'll say, give that guy one more month because we got 10 million sunk into him. Let's see if he can figure it out.
Yeah. Well, depends how much is invested.
Oh, totally, absolutely. That's a huge deal. If you give somebody 7, 8 figures up front, they're gonna give you every opportunity for that to work out. You know what I mean? That's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But the hit squad, the hit lab, the hit streak, the hit man. I don't know if you want to be called a hit man, but you're getting on base for sure.
Don Mattingly, man, and one of my former guests, former All-Pro Tennessee Titan Blaine Bishop, was the hitman. So they got those. I'm happy with just they call me Chief around here. That's from the movie Mr. Baseball that came out in the '90s. I don't know if you've seen that one, but Tom Selleck was the star in that, and it's awesome. It's about him going over and playing baseball in the Japanese major leagues. And that was what they called all their managers chief, and that just that stuck here. Even my little daughter, I'm hoping that when she called, right now it's daddy, but I'm hoping it's chief one day. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Is that your favorite baseball movie?
It's man, I love all the baseball movies, but that's a really good one. It's hard to knock Bull Durham. You know what I mean? It's gosh, what's some other great baseball movies? Mr. Baseball is a really good one though.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams is great. Both major leagues are fantastic. What's the other one that I love that we catch all the time? Some of them my son's just now getting old enough to watch, but like Little Big League wasn't a very good one. Angels in the Outfield was not good.
Matthew McConaughey was in that movie though.
He was.
People forget.
I know. I think he wants everybody to forget too.
Hey, never forget. But thanks for coming on. You're doing it all. Find Nick online. He's got the podcast, RAC, health insurance, life insurance too, or just health insurance?
We do health supplements, and term life.
Perfect. He's doing it all. So thanks for having everyone on. We'll see y'all next time. Bye, guys.